this. Hello. Hi. Get cozy. We're going to talk about some books. I have talked about how one of my goals this year is to not buy any books, which I feel like I always have to add the caveat that there are two instances where I will allow myself to buy books. One is my birthday, which is coming up really soon, and some of these books are included in a birthday haul. And the second one is a trip in April where I will probably buy books as a souvenir. Other than those two instances, I am not buying any books this year. People can buy books for me. They can get me presents. I will not say no to that. However, I am not going to buy any books. And so far so good. I mean, we're only a couple weeks into January, and frankly, I did a big book haul in December and I just got a bunch of those books now. So that's what we're going to talk about today. My last book haul, other than the trip in April of 2023. I bought so many books. I did not buy all of these books. Some of these books were actually given to me, and some of these books will be given to me for my birthday because I've asked for them. I am doing this for a number of reasons, but honestly, it's mainly just financial. I just want to try to save as much money as possible. This is no shame. If you want to keep buying books, keep buying books. In fact, buy all the books. Buy as many books as possible. Also support your local libraries. Okay, let's get into it because there are so many. And there's so many genres. I really have a ton of genres represented in this little book haul. Big book haul. It's a massive book haul. So let's get cozy. I hope you're cozy. I got my cozy sweater on and we're ready to go. So I'm just gonna pick at random and talk about them. I'm gonna start with a book that I got for Christmas. Now this is a book that I asked for, and it's going to probably take up a lot of my summer reading, and that is this gorgeous edition of the Grimm's Fairy Tales, the complete Grimm's Fairy Tales. I grew up reading these. My mother's German. She made sure that we had so many books that talked about Grimm's Fairy Tales. I actually remember one of my favorite books growing up was a pop-up version of the complete Grimm's Fairy Tales, and I played with it so much that I actually ripped off the characters and just pretended that they were dolls. So this is a gorgeous edition that my partner got for me for Christmas. It is complete, so it has all of the works, and it also has really crazy old style drawings. And I love fairy tales. I feel like that is not surprising to anyone. I haven't read them as an adult, so I'm really looking forward to reading them as an adult. That is the first book, one and done. It's gorgeous. Okay, the second book is a book that I'm actually asking for my birthday because it's not coming out till the end of February, and it is the only new release that I actually want to buy. There are a number of new releases that I want to read, but I'm going to rely on my library card and audiobooks to experience those ones. But the book that I really want to buy is the second book, the sequel to this book. I listened to this book on audio through my library, and I loved it so much that I actually had to buy it because first of all, it's a gorgeous book, but second of all, it's just a really fun YA fantasy read. I really love books that are inspired by Frankenstein and that kind of take place in that sci-fi horror, but also kind of gothic and classical atmosphere worlds. It was a lot of words that did not actually tie together. And this book pleasantly surprised me. It is a book about Hazel, who is our main protagonist, and she really wants to study medicine. And so she goes into med school. And there's just a lot of nods to Frankenstein in this book that I really enjoy. And the story is quick and the writing is really fantastic. I really enjoyed listening to it. I had no expectations going into it, and I really enjoyed it. So the second book in this series is coming out at the end of February, and I really want to read it. And so I want to keep going with the story because, spoiler alert, it ended on a cliffhanger, and I need to know what happens next. I guess we'll just stay in the vein of kind of YA, I guess, for now, because I'm going to talk about this book next. I got this for Christmas from my partner. He is always trying to find new YA fantasy for me to fall in love with. This is a Arthurian. It's inspired by King Arthur. I can't really say Arthurian tale. And it's set in the South, and It follows 16-year-old Bree Matthews, who goes to university through a program through her high school in the wake of her mother's death. And she is dealing with the grief, and then she discovers this secret society that has magic, and she finds a link to her mother's death and wants to pursue it. And I admittedly am actually about almost halfway through this book, and I am enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I really love the writing. The writing is fantastic. I'm enjoying the themes of this book too. I feel like it explores grief in a really realistic way, and it's depicted so well because of the quality of Tracy Deonn's writing. Fantastic. My only issue is I don't know anything about King Arthur and the Knights table, the round table. I know it's round. Yes, I know it's round. But that's all I know. And so I'm having a hard time tracking the magic system and how the world ultimately works. But I think that this book actually doesn't really need it because I'm still enjoying it. I was actually up late last night reading it. It's sitting at like a 3.5 out of 5 stars for me. I will keep going with it. And if I want to read the sequel, I'll probably just download it via my library. I don't think that this is a book where I will want to buy the sequel, at least not for a while. Still got plenty to go. Okay, let's switch gears up a little bit because I'm going to talk about my man Tolstoy. This is one of the books that I bought at the end of December because I know I'm going to want to keep going with my quest to read all of Tolstoy's works, or at least a large majority of them, at least his major works. And one of the ones that I really want to read that I didn't own is Childhood, Boyhood, Youth. This is a kind of blend of fact and fiction that he started when he was younger and carried on till he was older. It says here that he would famously later in life dismiss it as an awkward mixture of fact and fiction, but generations of readers have not agreed. So this is a bit of an exploration of what I imagine will be kind of a coming of age story, but frankly, I'll just read anything Tolstoy writes, and I just don't know what it is about his writing that captures me, but it truly does. He is immensely readable. Please do not be intimidated to give Tolstoy a try. If you've ever thought, hey, you know what? I think I'd like to read War and Peace in my life. Do it. It changed my life. So this will probably be my November Tolstoy book that I read. So I had to buy it ahead of time because I didn't own it. These are part of my December purchase as well, because one of the things that I really want to do this year is read Hemingway. When I was in high school, I read The Old Man and the Sea, and I really liked it. And I believe I read A Farewell to Arms, but I don't remember it. So I'm just gonna say that I haven't. And I really like his writing, and I don't know, I'm just excited to give him a try. So I picked up For Whom the Bell Tolls and The Sun Also Rises because I was at a used bookstore and these were the two that they had. They didn't have A Farewell to Arms, which is fine. I actually would have liked to read that one, and I also really want to read A Movable Feast, but I picked up these two. I don't know which one I'm going to start with. I have a feeling after I'm done with The Lord of the Rings, I'm going to pick up some Hemingway and go from there. Maybe I'll buddy read it with my best friend, but I am very excited to give Mr. Hemingway a shot this year. The rest of these books are all books that I bought in December, so while I'm not buying books for a whole year, I did buy probably more than enough books for the average person for the year, but I just really was like, what am I going to want to read this year? What am I definitely going to want to get through? And we'll actually see if I get through all of these books this year. Probably won't. Next in line is Kurt Vonnegut. I've actually never read Kurt Vonnegut, which is pretty wild to me because I love, consume, admire, think about constantly war literature. And this is considered one of the great anti-war books, so I definitely want to give it a try. I know absolutely nothing about Vonnegut's writing. I know very little about his style, so I am immensely excited to give this one a shot and see how I feel about it. This one, I believe, is centered around the Vietnam War, which is also a war that I have not explored a whole lot in my reading journey in life, so why not kick it off with Slaughterhouse-Five? I also picked This next one up at the same used bookstore, this used bookstore in Toronto, Doug Miller Books, if you live in Toronto, had a fantastic selection. And that is Toni Morrison's Mercy. I have never read Toni Morrison, which feels like a crime because anything I've ever read from her, any excerpt I've ever read, I have loved her prose. And so I was like, no time like the present to pick up one of her books and start. I admittedly did not do any research into where to start with her works. I just picked up one that I saw in the store, and so this is the one. This is all about the slave trade in the Americas, and it's a mother-daughter tale, and honestly, there's not much more I could probably say about it that would do it justice. I'm just very excited to read Toni Morrison's writing. If you watched my announcement of my book ban video, you will probably have seen that I have a very weird random taste of nonfiction books, and this is a book that I actually ordered online. It's a book that I've been wanting to read for a while, and I've never picked it up, and I've never really heard anything about it, and I'm really excited to explore this topic more, and that is Stziland by Anna Funder. This is a book all about various stories of individuals that lived in East Germany at the time of the Berlin Wall. Very, very random, I know. It is a gripping portrait of the horror and the absurdities of state oppression. In a world of total surveillance, its celebration of resilience and resistance is as potent as ever. I am German. I know quite a bit about German World War I and World War II history. I know very, very little about the Berlin Wall, which is pretty crazy to me because both my brother and sister were born in Germany in the 80s, and my family has a close connection to Germany at that time. So I really want to explore it. I also just feel like it's something I know very little about, and I want to read it. And this book has amazing reviews online, and I am very excited to read it. I'm really interested in literature surrounding communist state oppression as well. I think it's one of the more fascinating genres, and so I'm excited to pick this up. I have a feeling that this book will blend history and narrative fiction in a way that I will really enjoy. It's nonfiction from what I understand. It's nonfiction. However, I just love narrative nonfiction so much. So very excited. Okay, I'm going to talk about these next two books that I don't currently have, but that I will be asking for my birthday, and I know I'm going to get. So I'm going to put up the cover images. The first one is Song of the Marked by S.A. Gauthier, I think is her name. I really hope that's the author's name. I also don't know the author's gender. So that's probably bad that I'm including it in a roundup. But I wanted to say that I actually downloaded this book last year from my library, and I started listening to it, and I got about 10% in, and I stopped because it's actually quite good. It's for fans of Sarah J. Maas. It is a character-driven fantasy that also has a romance in it, and the world was really interesting and really engaging to me, but I had to stop because I was like, this is a book I have to read, because it felt a little bit, not complicated, but it was a little, like, it was a bit too much for me to just listen to. I don't know about you, but there are certain books that I can listen to on audio, no problem, and then there's other books that I feel like I have to actually physically read, and this is one of those books where I'm excited to dive into like a good fantasy that is reminiscent of Sarah J. Maas, so that is what I'm doing. The next book is actually a cookbook, because fun fact about me, I love cookbooks. I love cookbooks so much. I read them cover to cover. I have a massive collection. It's actually in my couch. That's what I use my couch storage for, because I have so many cookbooks. And this is the next vegan cookbook by Isa Chandra Moskowitz, who is a fantastic vegan cookbook author. All of her recipes just land for me so well. And this book especially is called Fake Meat. And some of my favorite recipes of hers are recipes on making your own fake meat. And anyway, so I'm really excited for that one. It is also coming out in February, and I really want it. Another book that I'm not going to buy, but I'm going to listen to when it comes out in February is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshni Chokshi. I'm really excited for that one. It's a gothic tale set around a marriage, and there's mystery, and it sounds very intriguing, but I do think I'm going to probably listen to that one on audio through my library and not buy it. But I wanted to call it out because it's another book in February. It's almost like the world knows my birthday is in February and just delivers all the best books at that time. Okay, moving right along. I'm sorry that this is going really quickly, but I feel like I want to get through this, and I feel like there's just a lot, and so I'm like whizzing through all of these books. I hope that's chill. Okay, I'm gonna do 3 books that I was actually influenced by Emma, or Emmy here on YouTube. Honestly, I love her vlogs, and I feel like our reading tastes are quite similar, and like when she loves a book, I'm like, okay, I need to pick that book up and give it a try. In my opinion, she's like the queen of booktube, and I've never really been steered wrong from a recommendation from her. Anyway, so there are 3 books that I bought that come directly from one of her videos, or that come directly from her videos, not one of her videos. And the first one is Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. I am not a big vampire person. I don't get it. It's not a genre that I particularly enjoy. I think the closest thing... Hi, this is Megan from the future. I say something here that is a bit of a spoiler for the Netflix show Midnight Mass. If you have not seen it, just skip ahead. I think the only story about vampires that I've truly enjoyed is Midnight Mass. Oh God, is that a massive spoiler? I don't know if that's a massive spoiler. So that's the only one that I enjoyed. I genuinely love that show. So anyway, that being said, this is a classic. This is the quintessential vampire book. And so I can't really claim that I don't like vampire literature, having not read what is considered one of the greatest. So I'm definitely going to give this a try in the fall this year. I also have Dracula on my reading list. All of the dust from this book just went into my one eye. I also have Dracula on my shelves, and I want to give Dracula a try, but I saw Emma reading this. She loved it. It was a 5 out of 5 for her, and so I am genuinely excited to give this a try. I also know that this is a massive series, so hopefully I like it and I can continue on with it, but I'm excited. I don't have high expectations, but I am hopeful. I will still go in with a completely open mind. The next one is actually an Icelandic book that I saw Emma reading that I really wanted to give a try, and that is Heaven and Hell by Jan Kalman Stephenson. This is a book set in a remote part of Iceland about a young boy who goes on a fishing expedition and sees something that is horrific and changes his life, and he has to come to grips with it. From everything I know, it is quite a difficult read, but it is also a very moving read. One day, I want to get to Iceland. If you don't know, Iceland has been a dream of mine since I was 16 years old. I was supposed to go at the very start of this pandemic. We had nearly everything booked. We had the dates. We were gonna go, and it was gonna be life-changing, and obviously that was canceled. So one day I will get to Iceland. Iceland is like my Everest in life. It's my only major bucket list item in my life, truly. So that being said, I'm really excited to explore more Icelandic literature. I have not explored it. The next book is actually a middle grade book, and again, saw it on Emma's channel, and I definitely had to pick it up. First of all, the cover is beautiful, but this is The Dollmaker of Krakoff, and it is a book set in Poland in 1939, and there is some magical realism in it. It's all about a doll maker who makes a doll who essentially comes to life. And as you can imagine, in Poland in 1939, they're dealing with the Nazi occupation. So I'm very excited to give this one a try. I know it is going to break my heart. Actually, a lot of the books I feel like I have will break my heart. I guess this is just going to be the year to cry, but also be deeply, deeply moved. Moving on, but staying kind of in a similar genre. I think that this will probably surprise a lot of people that I have not read this book, and that is The Book Thief. This is so many people's favorite book of all time. So many people have recommended this book to me. They cannot believe I haven't read it. It's a modern classic, and I have not read it. And I know that I need to. And so I ordered it because I was like, you know what? This is the year. This is the year for me to read The Book Thief. If you don't know, this is also set in 1939, but in Nazi Germany. This book is about a young girl named Liesel whose parents are taken to a concentration camp, and honestly, that's really all I know about it. I know that there is obviously a book theme to this, so I'm imagining a story about stories, which frankly I love. But I also know it's probably going to be a really hard read, so we're going to give it a try. I'm clearly a little nervous because I'm going to probably, now that I'm realizing it, I feel like I'm going to spend this entire year bawling, but it'll be good. It'll be so good. So that's The Book Thief. Okay, we're down to the last two. The next is also, I don't think I would call this Icelandic literature, but it's a book set in Iceland. So that is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This book is set in northern Iceland in 1829, and it follows the last days of a woman who has been sentenced to death. It's very atmospheric. I've heard that it's incredibly searing, and it's beautifully written. And so I think there's also some magical realism. I'm going in completely blind yet again, and that's kind of the way I like it. I don't know about you. Let me know if you are the type of person who like knows every single thing about a book before you pick it up and before you read it, or if you're just like, if the vibes are there, then I'm gonna try it. I'm definitely more of like, if the vibes are there, I'm gonna try it person. Okay, last but certainly not least, this is another book that I bought in my December book haul, and that is The Sorcerer of Pyongyang. This is a book about a young boy in North Korea in the 1990s who discovers a Dungeons and Dragons book. I did not know anything about this book. It was actually suggested to me through my online browser, and when I saw that description, I was like, yep, gonna give it a try. I feel like, again, this is gonna have a little bit of fantastical, magical elements to a very gripping, horrendous story. I have played D&D, so I'm hoping that there are some fun references in there. It says, warm, uplifting, and deeply researched, The Sorcerer of Pyongyang is a love story and a tale of survival against the odds. Inspired by the testimony of North Korean refugees and drawing on the author's personal experience of North Korea, it testifies to the power of empathy and the human imagination. So I will say that I am going in with quite high expectations. I hope they are met, but again, books set in kind of communist regimes are very, very interesting to me and have a tendency to be some of my favorites. So The Sorcerer of Pyongyang is the last book in my massive book haul. And yeah, I mean, after this, like I keep saying, because I want to be completely transparent, I will be buying books in April. I'm going to try not to buy too many because it is a massive road trip, and we can only have carry-on bags, so we are going to be quite strict about how many books I can buy. But other than that, that's it. That's what I'm bringing in, because if you did not watch, all these books behind me are books that I haven't read yet, and I'm really excited to make my way through the shelves and to make my way through this massive stack and to just share with you all the amazing stories that I read this year, because I'm very excited for that. If you've made it this far, thank you so very much for watching. Let me know what books are on your 2023 must-read list, because I will just be living in temptation for the next little bit over buying all these books that I want. But yes, thank you so very much for being here. I will see you in the next video.